In this lesson you will learn why it is a bad idea to lift items such as pipes with a skid steer loader. Because skid steer loaders, unlike other earth moving equipment, lift the bucket up and back, which will pendulum the load into the cab and damage it, or into the controls, or into the operator. Watch now for a demonstration of the range of movement of a skid steer bucket. You can foresee the problems. As the bucket goes up, the load will pendulum into the cab and damage it, or into the controls, or into the operator. If you have, for example, a 1300 deep trench, you'll need 1300 of chain, which means that the bucket will roughly be blocking your vision. You lift the bucket above that, again, the load will pendulum into the cab, into the controls, or into the operator. Because the load will be so far back, the skid steer loader will have, the front tyres will have to go very close to the edge of the trench, which will cause the edge of the trench to collapse, which will cause the skid steer to roll over forwards, which will cause the plumber on the other side of the trench to be killed. Watch now for a demonstration. Hopefully you can already see the myriad of problems that attempting to lift items such as pipes with chains with skid steer loaders creates. I've had to leave the bucket off the ground and put a part of my body underneath the hydraulically supported attachment just to get the lifting gear on there. This machine is rated at 614 kilograms. And this pipe weighs approximately 225 kilograms. However, the manufacturer would assume that the load is in the bucket. We'll do a demonstration with the chain going over the front of the bucket, which will probably damage the cutting edge of the bucket and or damage the chain and increase the load centre. You can see there how the load is lifted up and come back. Depending on the depth of my trench, I might need that much chain to get the pipe into the bottom of the trench. Watch now what happens under acceleration and deceleration. We could of course rig the load around the front half of the bucket and open the 4-in-1. This would drastically increase the load centre distance, provide two sharp corners for the chain to cut itself apart on, and obviously lead to rollover and a violent pendulum effect. We could rig the chain around the back half of the bucket only, which would decrease the load centre slightly and increase the problem of the load striking the cab, controls or operator. If there was a lifting point attached to the back half of the bucket at the top, it would create a lot of difficulty for the operator to get in and out of the machine. Watch now for a demonstration. If I've presented my fictitious lifting point to the load in order to rig it, how would the operator get in and out safely? At the end of the day, these machines are simply not designed to be used as mobile cranes. There's no manufacturer that recommends that activity. I believe the original patent application specifically excludes that activity. The laws of physics exclude that activity, and common sense excludes that activity. An operator might get sucked in to setting up this way because the pipe supports the bucket, which would prevent him from getting crushed while he's pulling his chains under the bucket. However, if you lift up this way, the pipe's even more likely to pendulum into the cab and strike the cab, the controls of the operator. I'll just do a half demonstration because it's basically too dangerous to even demonstrate, even though it's obvious that people will do it if it's in the test. You can see there that the pipe's trying to move back towards me. It's already struck the front of the vehicle. There's just too many ways that this can go wrong if you have chains as part of the standard complete equipment schedule for a skid steer loader.
Is that if that pipe rotated 90 degrees because whatever, there was a twist in the chain or the wind got it or the dogman was asleep, that pipe would pendulum in and go inside the cab and strike the controls or operator.
The thing's only got a swing back. It's got a heavy weight. You said it was 250 or approximately 250 kilos in weight. If that comes back with a pendulum effect, it's going to damage you severely at least, and probably damage the machine at all. The fact is, you shouldn't use that machine as a crane.